What's up, everybody? Happy Monday morning. I messed up a little bit. I after yesterday's little weather fiasco, I was playing it a little closer to the vest today, and I watched the news all last night, and the weather, and they were calling for pretty severe thunderstorms this morning. I was up at 3:30, and then 4, and then 4:30, and I didn't hear or see anything out the window. Problem is, both my jet skis are on the trailer after yesterday. I had one on the trailer from Saturday that I didn't take off, that I fished up in Lake Ontario with. I didn't take it off the trailer and put it back in the water. So Sunday morning, today's Monday, Sunday morning, I took my orange one out, got chased in by lightning, and Courtney came and picked me up at Johnson's Bay Marina with my truck and trailer and the other jet ski on. So now both my jet skis, instead of sitting on the hoist where they're supposed to be, are out back in my truck, on hooked on the trailer, hooked onto my truck. You can't really see them out there. So, and I was gonna put one in last night, but the weather was pretty gnarly all afternoon, day and afternoon, and into the evening, and I didn't feel like dodging lightning storms again. So I said, well, it really looks like this weather is going to be cruddy this morning. I'm gonna play it safe, and I'm not gonna bother. Well, here it is now, almost 8 a.m. There hasn't been anything going on since first light. So I made the wrong choice, I guess. How else do you say that? I've been a guide since 1994. Sometimes you pick the wrong move. Sometimes you listen to reports that aren't right as opposed to just being prepared and ready to go. That was always the toughest thing about the guide life, and still is with clients. Most all of our guys are coming from out of town. And so if you knew in advance that it was going to be gnarly, you would try to call them in advance and not have them make the trip all the way up to not fish. That was always a slippery slope, because you'd hear gloom and doom, and it's going to be the worst weather ever, and then the morning of, you'd be like, oh, I could have went. I could have got my trip in, or trips in, or whatever. So canceling trips was always the toughest thing for me, because I didn't want people to feel like they came all the way up for nothing if they got up here knowing that there was going to be bad weather coming, or if you canceled it prematurely. So you were kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. I'm living proof of that this morning, because now's when I would have been heading in anyway. I could have made it. I could have fished this morning. Not that I'm super upset about that. But I'd rather be out there. My body is already in. I was, like I say, I was up at 3:30 and then 4. And I'm like, I'm committed now. There's nothing I can do. I can't go launch my jet ski at 4:30 in the morning in the dark and bring it back here, and then my truck's over there with another one on it, and whatever. It just was if it was a single jet ski trailer with one machine on it, it's different. I could have just driven to Oneida Shores, launched this morning, came back here, had Courtney bring me over, but you can see how there's a lot of moving parts there. So today after work, when I get home, I will definitely put both machines back in the water, and with any luck, someday, eventually, the mechanic will call and say, I've got a hold of BRP, I've got the mapping codes, and your boat's done. Wow. Maybe today. So that's a little look inside an old guide's mind. I tried to err on the side of caution after, not that yesterday was a close call, but it was snapping all around me out there. And if you can see it, and it was coming, it was already over the water. If you can see it, you got to get away from it. Period. There's a lot of things I'll fish through. Lightning isn't one of them. Lightning is not one of them. So here I sit this morning, brokenhearted. I didn't fish this morning. I didn't set the hook. I did fish here off my dock, and I was throwing a frog out over the big grass mat right here, because there's usually a pretty good largemouth, or 2 or 3 out there, and there you can usually get a pretty good blow up. I had my chesty on this morning just in case something did happen. Nothing happened. But As soon as that first cast hit the water and I started to retrieve it, I didn't look at the barometer this morning. When it leaves a bubble trail behind your top water, I don't care what it is, I've always been told that they're not going to come up and eat it. I don't know how true that is, but I've never had. And today, as soon as that thing started, I was using not a seismic toad, but it's a bull ribbit. So it's rigged weedless. It's just a big solid chunk of plastic with two big kicking legs on it. So when you retrieve it across the top, it's like that. As soon as it started, it was just a bubble factory behind it, and they stayed on the top, and nothing came up for it. I didn't have a swirl, nothing, which is unusual. So usually that's a go-to way for me in the summer, in the dead of summer, to catch a largemouth off. And I've caught some big ones off that rock pile where that grass mat is. Didn't happen this morning. So it's now day 3. Like, I didn't do anything Saturday. I didn't even get to fish yesterday, and now I'm not fishing this morning. So that's 3 days. So I'm kind of jonesing. So whatever I do tomorrow morning, it's going to be all out fury, because I need some serious hook set therapy. You know, my right arm is starting to lose its muscle tone because I haven't set the hook lately. Been 3 days. 3 days. That's too long. That's too long. It's too long for somebody like me, especially now at this point in my life. It's too long to go between hook sets. So that being said, it's actually a pretty nice morning. It's got to be almost 70 right now. What in here, the flags are all kind of hanging limp. It feels like there's an east-southeast breeze coming in, which they had called for. They said 10 to 15. It's not there yet. I don't know if all these storms are going to congregate. I've been watching the radar all morning, and it says right about 8 o'clock, which is pretty quick, that they're going to start. Now it says that. This morning, or last night, it said they were going to start at 6, which is why, again, I didn't launch. But whatever. Fishing's fishing, right? So stay tuned. Tomorrow morning I'll be back out there. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Monday morning. Start off your week in the right mode. State Fair time is coming up. I think that's this weekend, is the opening weekend of the State Fair. If you're a CNY person, like I'm born and raised here in Central New York, the fair was yes, it meant you were going back to school when you were a kid pretty quick, but the State Fair was always my favorite time of year, and I would go multiple times from when I was a kid all the way through when I'm an adult. I would go 4 or 5 times at least to the fair and do different things, see different things. There's some pretty decent music at the Chevy Court this year that Courtney and I talked about maybe sneaking over to. The beauty of Chevy Court when it's free anyways is you can go hear a couple songs of, Dropkick Murphys are playing. There's only really one song of theirs I even know. But it'd be cool to go see him perform it live, and then you can walk out and go to the rest of the fair, and you haven't spent any money or wasted any time. So, anyway, I'm out of here. I'm going to go do something productive with my Monday. I got an early start. I'll get this posted, and I'll get moving. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Happy Monday, and I'll see you tomorrow morning on Tuesday. Keep your tip up.